because some about Be Live and YouTube are freaking each other out today. Of course, though, it is called modern technology, so
Right.
it would be right if something didn't go wrong for no reason. Now we had this all set up. I had videos I wanted to play, but whatever. Just like Mike said, let's just go ahead and do the chat. So I'm sorry that we get. I'm hoping we'll get some of you guys back in here. We are back. We are back. The question of the day today was, what was the jeans that was the go-to jeans when you were coming to high school? Mine was Calvin Klein, Jordache, and Vidal Sassoon. All right, Mike.
Okay, so for me, I'm a suburban kid in the '90s, so it was all about Gap. It was
I remember Gap.
Banana Republic, maybe, but Gap were the jeans.
Gap, I remember. I remember Gap because I was still young enough. I mean, by that time I was in the Marine Corps and all that. But
right.
you still at an age where you kind of sticking with what quote unquote is cool and what is
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, and what is cool? Gap, Banana Republic. I remember. Wait a minute, is Banana Republic still around?
I have no idea. I can't even remember the last time I was in a mall.
Yeah, this is true.
It's like I remember when. Because, I mean, the story was always, well, like the malls and the Tower Records and the Sam Goodies are going to make the mom and pop shops go out of business.
Right.
And now it's like you've got your Amazon, which is made like even the malls and the Blockbuster videos and the Borders and
yeah.
Well,
even
the corporations are failing.
Yeah. I mean,
so who knows if there's Banana Republic?
Even before that, it was what it was like Walmart came in and changed all that.
Oh yeah.
Even before that, it's kind of like everybody had a local hardware store, or you had an Ace, and then when Lowe's started and Home Depot, everybody it's always something. Yeah, but then you fast forward a decade or so, and Amazon and Google have put even Walmart, I think, doesn't even want to sell music anymore.
Right.
Like, wow, I just heard a recent survey. It was a big economist professor, and he was saying we should stop calling the Fortune 500. And they were like, "What do you mean?" So he said, basically, there's 8 companies that I was like, "Wow!" And he was talking about, I guess it was Amazon, Google, and somebody that there was 4 companies. And between the 4 of them, they're like 20-25% of the GDP of the United States.
Oh yeah,
just those 4 countries. We didn't even start talking about Walmart. He was just talking about those 4 companies. I was like,
Christ. Yeah, Walmart doesn't even compute next to Amazon,
which is scary.
Oh yeah, no.
Because I mean, Walmart, I think they were doing like 10% of the GDP or something like that.
Right.
It was, and now they're engulfed by Amazon and Google and whoever the heck. It's kind of scary.
Oh, it's terrifying.
When I was a kid, they did dystopia movies about this type of thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, these, like the people in charge, we all used to think they were the bad guys. Some of us still do. Mm-hmm. But, well,
you have to admit, though, during the pandemic, and the guy was saying the economist professor said, he wasn't hating on the companies for being profitable.
Right.
He was just saying that, they grew the number was crazy, like 112% since the pandemic started. So business is good when people are sick, and but that's always been the way in America. Right. That's why appeal that some pharmaceutical companies spent no money to make.
Oh yeah,
all done on college grants, to the back of college kids getting their grants whatnot. Literally, they didn't really spend any money to make it, but they want to turn around and spend charge you $4,000 per pill. And you're like, where does this cost? They're like, well, the production. I'm like, oh, come on, I mean, maybe the average person doesn't know, but some college students did a thesis on this that you didn't pay crap, and that kid still got $200,000 in school payments that he got to pay back, and you make it $4,000 a pill. But whatever. That's why it pays their own patents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vidal Sassoon, Jordache, Levi's. He said Gap, and I would be remiss to not say the old three stitch Braxtons. We wore them too, man. Tough skins. I remember those. Bill Braxton. Hey, Sugar and Monster Mike from Bill in Marysville, Washington. All right, man. How you doing, Bill? Isabel Lip, hi from Quebec. saw you in Trois Rivières, and it was great. Well,
Love Trois Rivières.
Yeah, that's a great place. You know, I had played it. The first time I played it, it had only been open like a year. And we came in and played the night before Celine Dion. Celine Dion. And it was great. And then we just went back and played recently. And I was shocked because when I first played it, it was like nothing but the stadium there. There was nothing. Now there's all these condos and houses and all this stuff. The riverfront all built up around it. I'm like, it's only been 4 years since I was last there.
Right. Yeah, I know. Hey, Barbara. How you doing?
Barbara Ryan, thank you for coming back. Yeah. If you guys got any questions, since we can't show videos, you can come up and ask Mike a question or ask me a question. We're going to try to make it do what it do. Monster Mike has to come to Mahindra Blues Festival Sunday. Mike, you never played that one?
No.
Man, no, it was a great festival.
I think it was on the list for me and Mike Ledbetter. I mean, we were in that place where it was just like any festival we didn't do that first year, we were already booked for the next year.
Yeah.
It was kind of in the same place. It's kind of in the same place your schedule usually goes, It's like
you guys are kicking butt, I mean, it was kicking hiney, brother.
Yeah. It's the best thing I've ever been involved with. And it's nice to be part of something good where everyone else also thinks it's something good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly
where it's like, oh, this is actually what I want to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you and I have both done things that are very close to our hearts, but we've also done things where, it's fun to play with some people, but it's not, it's not your thing.
Yes. Yeah, we won't call it names. Yes, we both have.
Well,
and it's part of the process of growing up and becoming your own entity.
And I'm grateful for all that because without those experiences, I never would have played with you. I never would have played with some of my favorite players in the world. But it was really nice to have that thing. Be what I was. What people were focusing on.
You guys had Gina working with you too. And I love Gina. I mean, I can't tell you how many times around the world Gina has gotten me out of jams, and she wasn't even my manager. Matter of fact, when I was in the middle of getting management way back, I was stuck with my band in somewhere up in northern Norway.
And I remember that.
You on that gig? You remember that gig? Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that gig. Yeah. I was on that gig, and it was right after that you guys had to get somewhere.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, all our planes had just disappeared, and the flights didn't exist anymore. And I remember sitting there watching her with 3 phones. She had Pam in the United States on the phone. She had somebody else in Norway on the phone. She had somebody. I was like, and she like, Ray, don't you worry about it. You just go play, and I'm gonna take care of it. And she wasn't even my manager, y'all.
Right. My kid knows that if they ever end up, in jail. And they, like Gina will come in a like special black ops helicopter, parachute down.
She's got it. She has got it. I mean, Gina's got it. Sugaray, we enjoy your voice.
If you ever need someone to hide a body, you know what I mean.
Bill Bracken said we enjoyed your performance at the Bender. Bill, did you come up and say hello? I didn't see you, man. I mean, I was trying to when I wasn't on stage, I was kind of staying in my room, but. You said you last enjoyed seeing Monster Mike on the
cruise.
On the cruise, right on. When the last time you did the cruise, Mike?
February of 2019. It was like a week and a half after Mike died. And
wait a minute, did we cruise together?
No, we never ended up doing the cruise together.
Oh, maybe I was doing. I did the.
You did it. Mike was there with Moss a couple times.
Yep. I'm trying to think though. Didn't I do the 2019 cruise?
I think you did the fall one. You did the February one.
November. That's what it was. November.
Yeah, I was sorry to miss the Bender. You talked about how everyone was very conscientious about masks and stuff. I talked to my family and it was like, I don't know if I can do 6 days inside a casino. And I'm glad I'm not hearing reports of people getting sick.
It was a real deal, dude. Between you and I, and our listening audience there, it was 48 hours before I was supposed to be there. Before Pam and I, it was Pam that finally told me go ahead and go because my wife has been going through this particular type of cancer that we use in immune therapy and so forth. And between you and I was not going.
Right.
You know,
No, and
the other shows I've done had all been outside. You know, the Colorado,
me
the
too.
Quad Riviera, the one in Pittsburgh. Everything was outside. So I'm gonna tell you that it was 48 hours before time for me to walk on stage before I actually said, "Yeah, I'm going there." I talked to my management, talked to Pam, and what convinced me was they had changed the rules and said even to get in there, you had to show proof of your vaccination. And you know, Nevada, even though I say even though, and I don't like doing politics, but Nevada is mostly a Republican state, but it's money and it's about
Right.
money.
But
Nevada,
you know,
what I'm saying is
you think
Nevada
other
knows they
states would figure
implement.
that out too.
You would think so, but Nevada they implemented mandatory mask,
That's so good.
mandatory QCR test in Nevada, and they were serious about it because you know
That's
the
great.
casinos were losing money. You know, you can't make money in casino if you can't get people in there.
Right.
So the casino said no, you got to wear it. And I'm gonna tell you, they were nice about it, but they had women and guys that walked around the casinos in these like little light blue shirts. They were holding like church fans, and the church fan would say, "Put your mask on," and so they will walk by you and they see you and they hold up the pants so you can see it. And then if you decided that you weren't going to wear your mask and they saw you a couple times, they kick you out.
Right.
So I thought they did a hell of a job. Now
I'm so glad to hear
top of that, I also kind of quarantined myself. You know, it's like when I wasn't. You know, I wanted to go and sit into a whole bunch of jams, but
Well,
I was like,
the thing for me, and it's both. I mean, I was artist at large, and you know how I am in those situations.
no.
I end up playing with everybody.
Yeah.
But also, and I was talking to some of the people I saw the week before the bender, and I realized, you know, I didn't have a band to pay. I didn't have anyone else dependent on me. If I'd had a band to pay or I was responsible for other people's well-being, I might have made a different decision. I might have gone. But because it was just me and I wasn't worried about a band, and also the whole reason I was there was to play with everybody, I would have been there. It was just like, it's too dangerous. And, you know, I'm so glad they were careful about it because, you know, I don't want anybody getting sick.
I'm hoping that the Bender Brass guys and all those guys okay because
they played with everybody.
They played with everybody, and
they,
you know, just being honest, you can't trust everybody because I know personal stories of people that were sick that went and did things anyway and told people that they weren't sick.
And I know people have lied about being vaccinated.
Yes, fortunately for me, I don't know anybody about that. Thank God. But I've heard the stories. You know, I would tell you that my entire band is vaccinated, and I was there.
Right.
And everyone around us. You know, matter of fact, you know, Pam has had 3 shots. She's had the booster. But again, she's going through immune, the type of cancer she's going through. The immune.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because, you know, the last time I saw you was like 2 weeks before the pandemic hit because we did that benefit in at the Rhythm Room.
Yes.
For the heart.
Oh, wow. Is that wow?
And that was like a week before people started talking about, okay, it's hitting the United States pretty hard.
Right.
And then 2 weeks after that, things were starting to shut down.
Dude, I totally forgot about that. Holy shit.
I'd forgotten about it until I saw the last tag on my luggage when I took it out the other day.
Wow. You know what's so weird? You're laughing about that. I did that just the other day because so far the stuff that we've done, I've only used the backpack because it's like, you know, I got one outfit. I got a couple pair of sweats. I'm going to the gig, going back to my hotel room, or going to the airport, you know. So it's like, but I was looking at luggage. I was putting out luggage, and it's still, you know, some of my luggage still. I got a lot of luggage. Some of them still got European tags, but there's some that just got like the last show, and I was just like, it was weird you said that because that just happened about 8 days ago. I was looking at that and just sitting in the garage like, holy crap, you know. Wow.
Well, the thing I went through is that, you know, for 20 years I've had a suitcase, you know, that at least has like a toothbrush and a guitar cable in it. but over the past year and a half I had to take out that toothbrush and guitar cable and use them for other stuff. So like I had to remember, what do I even bring to a gig?
You know, you're laughing. I almost left for the first gig. I almost left for the first gig. We did a gig in Pittsburgh a month or two ago, replacing Shamika Copeland. She couldn't make it or didn't, whatever the situation was.
Right.
And it was an outdoor gig. I didn't take the whole band. I just took the 5-piece. And that was the first show we played in 18 months together as a band. Not like virtual, but an actual show. And I almost left. I had to turn around and drive back to the house because I had left without merchandise. I had no merchandise. I just had a backpack, and I was like, I was like 30 minutes away, and someone was like, you might want to have a CD or vinyl to sell.
Right. Yeah. You remember that's the way you actually used to make money to stay on the road.
Right. I had to turn around. I was like, oh my God. None of that. I wasn't in geek shape, dude.
Right. Oh, the first gig I did was a duo gig with Anthony Gerasi, and I realized 3 songs in that all of my practicing guitar I'd been sitting down. So standing up and playing, I'm like, I don't know where to put my arms because I haven't played guitar standing up in a year and a half. And it's that simple, stupid stuff that people don't even think of.
We take for granted because we take it for granted because what just happened? We take it for granted because we're just used to doing it.
Right.
I that first show in Pittsburgh. Now the people in Pittsburgh said it was a great show. I was like, man, I was out of breath. I couldn't remember where to breathe. I was hoarse. Like I had, I used to be, me. I could go 10 shows in a row and sing. I was 2 songs in, and it was like the old days if I had done a week worth of touring. 2 songs in, and I was like, my voice is what the heck, and I had to remind myself, say, man, it's just like any other muscle. You've been a marathon runner, but you've laid off for almost 2 years.
And there's also, it doesn't matter how much on any instrument or singing, it doesn't matter how much you practice, because once you get, once you get people in front of you and a band with volume behind you, everything's out the window.
It's a whole, and that's what I try to explain. Because people like, well, don't you practice? I'm like, yeah, I practice. I warm up all the time, but I don't. I say if I sing as hard as I sing on stage, first of all, it would be impossible. I would have to find, because even with my stereo, which is a huge stereo, even in Suga Shack, there's no way I can get it up as loud as a band. I could add my big speakers in and concert speakers to do that.
It's still not the same.
It's not the same. And
when you have drums pushing air behind you.
Yeah. And I push a lot of air myself, but it's hard to have that type of singing because some of it is adrenaline. And no matter how much you try to fool your brain, you're just not going to sing as hard as you would with a band behind you and people in front of you.
Right.
So it's one of those things like you can be warmed up, you can be blah, blah, blah. But when it comes down to it, it's like, nothing beats the real thing.
Right. And, and there were times where I felt like I'd probably be in good shape to make a record right now.
Well, see, that's what I did. That's what I did. I did 2 singles and an album.
I put together sort of a live in lockdown record from I Can't Stop the Blues show and a couple other things I'd done. But like, I'm really happy with that. But getting on stage was a completely different animal.
It's funny because you say that because you're absolutely right. Right now, it's perfect to do like an album. Like the vocals for an album right now is like, okay, I'm doing stuff that I normally don't even have the what's the word I'm looking for? Like like I'm reaching chords, I'm reaching tones that normally I only get before I sing because the voice is just it just doesn't work that way. Like when I start singing, I don't really have a falsetto. Right. So when I start singing, like before I start singing, I have a falsetto. Right. If I did it like the first song of something, I could do it. Right. The song, my falsetto is out the window. It's just
and I have to imagine your falsetto, so your full chest voice projects so much. Yeah. I have to imagine even if you had control over your falsetto, it would be like half as loud as your
it is
voice.
It is. I mean, I mean, like right now I can do all. I got all that, But when I start singing, for some reason, that goes out the window. But I was saying during the pandemic, because you're not pushing hard, I had I was able to have a full, I'm usually a 1.5 octave singer.
Right.
That's where my comfort wheelhouse is.
Right.
And I've learned over the years how to make that 1.5 octaves work for me. But
well,
doing the band, I'm 3 octaves.
It's also in a very powerful place. Like it's the 1.5 octaves that really cuts through and lets people, it punches people in the gut. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, but it's nice. I get jealous when I hear those guys with those upper octaves. I'm like, I can do it. If I'm not touring.
That was the absurd thing about Ledbetter, because he had opera training, so he would go into that falsetto. He wouldn't slide between notes. He just right on the note.
Yeah, I know.
And like
I hated him for that. I'm telling you that now.
So
I loved him, but I hated him as a singer. I loved him, but I hated him for it. I just tell him that too, like, mother, it's like, but hey, you got it. It's another great cat like that people don't know about. He's a big time actor, but people don't know that he was an amazing opera singer and actually had a great career in opera and was like one of the greatest. Was in the opera world, was really known as one of the greatest tenors, and he left at a very young age and started doing movies. And God dang it, I just had his name, now I forgot it.
People really don't know about him.
Yeah, everybody does know him, but people don't know he was an opera singer. Forrest Whitaker. Whitaker.
Wow.
Yeah, go look it up. Huh. He was an amazing opera singer that left it.
You and I have talked about. We've seen Forrest Whitaker in a bunch of things, and I feel like he's always got an accent he's doing. Yeah. He's always got, and it's vocal control. That makes a lot of sense to me.
He was considered like one of the top tenors in the world. I mean, he's a real live dude, not just college, not just high school, but a real
I'm gonna have to search that out because that's awesome.
Look for it, opera singer, amazing. There's a lot of people that are that way that people think they're what's his name from Public Enemy,
Chuck D?
Flavor Flav.
Oh, Flavor Flav, yeah, plays all the instruments.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that he was a pre-med student and he got a master's and a PhD in something, and his mother was a doctor, his father was this big time lawyer, and he was a little preppy kid that used to hang around Chuck D and them, and they don't realize that whole image of Flavor Flav is actually based off of the African demon devil that would come, that whole look, the whole everything, and it's all phony. People don't know this guy is this guy's got a master. He's got a PhD in something, and he plays like 12 different instruments. For y'all that don't know Flavor Flav, go look him up. And people think he's
that's amazing.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of those guys out there like that.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I know better right now than to assume that the thing you see someone do on stage is the only thing they can do.
Yeah.
And I also remember when I was a kid and started to play with people older than I was. It took me a long time to realize that people don't just like the music they sound like.
Oh,
because I knew I liked a lot of different kinds of music.
Yeah.
But if I was on a gig with, I don't know, Robert Lockwood, or something, and I wasn't playing guitar the way he did, it's like, is this not cool in some way? It's like, no, those guys listen to all kinds of stuff.
Well, you and I both have come up as young sidemen, and we show respect and whatnot. But that was the whole reason when I put my band together. The whole reason when I put my band together that I got the players that I did in the beginning was I went outside the blues world to get the players for my band. Why? It was purposely done because I wanted to play more than just blues. I love the blues, but I also love reggae and I love soul. I love R&B. So I put a band together that it drop a hat. If I wanted to play country, I would do it. People that came to see my shows, we would run through that. We would sometimes I'd be like reggae, and they just break out start playing reggae. Sometimes I would say country, and they break out start playing a country song, or we go into comfortably numb, and people think I'm joking, and we play the whole thing, and then people like, what the hell, And I'm like, because I'm at a blues festival, but I'm a musician, I'm a singer, I love a lot of different stuff.
Oh yeah,
and you would do if you give it a chance. Yeah. Mike, I'm gonna try this. If it blows up, don't go anywhere.
Okay, no problem.
I'm gonna try to see if they will let me play this one video. Y'all hang in there. Everybody cross your fingers. We go. Let's see what happens. No. Denied. Never mind.
At least it's honest with you. That is just denied.
I don't know what the heck. It will not let you play any videos. Big Money Mike, Al Walker. Hey, Big Al, how you doing? Hey, Big Al, congratulations on your son being nominated for an Emmy, man. That's really cool.
Oh, wow, that's too cool.
Yeah. I don't know if I got to say it. Y'all don't know Big Al Walker's played with me for many years. Saxophonist out of Richmond, Virginia area. Well, not really Richmond, but Virginia. And his son has been, for as long as I know now, you know, he's the vice president of BET, Black Entertainment Television.
Oh, wow.
BET. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how I got box seats 1 year at the Grammys. You know, I got box seats. We had not a maid, what's the male version of that? We had anyway, we in the box. Like the rich folks, you know, we got Butler. We got the whole nine. That was all
nice.
I really grew to love your guitars at the Bender.
Oh, who was playing with you at the Bender?
Well, you know, my new guitar is Danny Avila.
I don't think I know. Do I know him?
You know his father from Oingo Boingo and all those guys. His uncles from
oh, wow.
Lobos and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I know he played with Walter for a while. I think he was playing bass with Walter.
Okay.
I decided to make the band young, if that makes any sense.
Oh, definitely.
So far, I'm not regretting that decision because it's just a lot easier, and they're hungry and they want to play. And so right now, I have Daniel Avila on guitar. We have Ramon Michelle on drums, Julian Davis on trumpet, and DJ Martin on saxophone. All these guys are like 35 and under, and
nice.
It's been really cool. And they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job.
That's awesome.
You know, I hate change, but I'm learning as I get older. Change is good.
Yeah, definitely. Got
to embrace it. I really would like to play this video of you, man. It's a benefit that you did with it's a wrong tape. It's called Right Place, Wrong Time. Monster Mike Welch at the Boca Mike Ledbetter tribute, March 21st. You and Danielle Nicole. And
oh yeah.
Nicole. And it just will not allow me to play it. I can play it here on YouTube, but it won't. The program
get on the stream.
Yeah, the program is like just not allowing it to be played, which is so weird. That it's never done that before.
Well, just to anyone watching and in the chat, hey, go check me out on YouTube.
Yeah, and of course, y'all know this is being recorded live to YouTube as well as
that's great.
Facebook, which is why I like to play the videos because people go back and they can And usually Eric is here putting up tags of you, but like I said, he's feeling pretty under the weather right now. That is so weird.
Oh man, thank you. Enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy. I met this cat when I was in India. Me, Charlie Musselwhite, Brandon Santini, and I've been really bad with names. Beth Hart. And
sure.
This young man has an unbelievable blues band in India, and he's a hell of a guitarist. And,
I discovered him through Instagram because he may have actually posted something that he tagged me in, or it was just like someone else liked one of his posts. And yeah, no, totally the real deal.
Yeah,
and playing from the heart, which
is what's most important.
Really making it speak and say what he wants it to say, and that's my favorite thing about any musician.
Yeah,
almost doesn't matter what style. It's just like if you can make that thing say what you want it to say.
Which is the hard thing, I think I'm gonna show people one day. I'm gonna pull out one of my guitars, and do something. I've never done it. I think I'm gonna do it just for shock and awe, to start a song and strum along. I'm not a guitarist by any means, but I can pluck enough to just to shock people. And people like, man, I said, well, I was a drummer. I play keyboards. I can mess around with the guitar, but I've always been lucky enough to have guys like you and others around me that I'm not picking up the freaking guitar. Monster Mike is over here playing. What the hell? I'm like an idiot. It's like.
Well, I mean, like I've never heard you play, but I have to imagine it's kind of like,
Thank God.
well, but I always kind of like hearing people who aren't primarily, like I love hearing Mudcat Ward play piano because there's something like it's
Yes.
simple, but it's
Primal.
just the cool deep shit because that's
Primal.
what he feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very ethereal, very primal.
Some of those Muddy Waters records actually have Little Walter playing second guitar, and that wasn't his instrument, but it's such a cool sound.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you listen to a bunch of the Motown stuff from Detroit.
Right.
A lot of that stuff is Marvin Gaye playing drums because they didn't allow him to sing.
Please, Mr. Postman is Marvin playing drums.
That's Marvin Gaye playing drums. They wouldn't even allow him to sing. He was a drummer. Right. he had to convince them to let them. But a lot of people don't know that. When I listen to Teddy Pendergrass, it's like Harold Melvin and Blue Notes. He was the drummer for 10 years.
Amazing. But I love it. Yeah, Teddy Pendergrass or Marvin Gaye. It's like, it's like that guy can't sing. He's gonna play drums.
Yeah, he was a drummer. And they're like, yeah, you can't sing, play the drums. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Postman, play drums, played on that.
And it's the perfect for that kind of. It's like right in that pocket.
Right in the pocket.
Yeah. It's like, that's the same guy who went on to write What's Going On.
Hey, another friend of mine, and I'm just talking about drummers, but I know a lot of cats that way. But another friend of mine, the legendary Mr. James Gatson.
Yeah.
Arguably, I think I feel very lucky that I know two of the top four, in my opinion, two of the top four greatest drummers in the world. Two of them are friends of mine. That's Mr. Bernard Purdy and Mr. James Gatson. They're both friends of mine. And I love Mr. Purdy. He just him and his wife.
Yeah, I mean,
but James, I always tell people like singing. I said, James had a top 10 hit as a singer, and he wrote a bunch of stuff. And people like, what? I said, yeah, go back and check out Loveland. I said, that's Mr. Gatson singing and playing.
I never heard it. I'm gonna have to check it out.
I wish I could play the video.
Right.
Unfortunately, they won't let me play videos on this thing. So, but it's sort of to that. It's way up the high false center.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Loveland, and that's him playing the drums. And Sugaray is no doubt the heavyweight champion of the blues. Two great guys. Oh, man. Hell, Mike Hogan. I love the video of Mike playing BB's Darling. You know I love you. It moves me as much as BB's did.
Oh man, that's maybe the best thing you could say to me.
Wow,
I love BB so much I can't even tell you.
Bob Fisher, Monster Mike, you are awesome.
Nice.
Monster Mike, you are really a fantastic musician. I'm glad I know you. They're just coming in. Michael Mudcat Ward, what's going on? I heard my name ringing. Enjoy your show, Sugar. And Mike, hope to see you soon down the line. Us too, man. It's good to hear from you. I need to get you on the show one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get Mike back when the videos are playing. I guess I'm going to have to play something during the middle of the week. I guess put them up on Facebook. This is crazy. But Michael Mudcat, how you doing, brother? Loretta Sessman, love that song. So old school. Hey, Lolo, how you doing? Again, the question of the day today is, when you were in high school, what were the genes that were the in thing? Mike said when he was in, it was all about Gap.
Yeah.
The Gap. And then when I was in, it was all about Vidal Sassoon, Jordache, Calvin Klein's, and Levi's. Coco Montoya was a drummer. Yeah, I know that. I knew Coco.
He played with Albert Collins, right?
He played with Albert. A lot of those guys were. I mean, but what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of those guys that played. What I was trying to say is not just so much the drummer thing, but these guys that play instruments that you have no idea. Like what Mike was saying, there's a lot of guys that do different things, and you have no idea that they like other things, but you only know them as, my good friend who just passed away, Mike Finnegan. Perfect example. God. People talk about Mike playing the B3.
He was one of the greatest singers I ever heard.
The greatest singers I've ever heard in my freaking life. And I used to always tell him, I said, you sure you ain't got a little Negro in you? I said, but you've been around some Negroes, because that's Negro singing. It ain't white folks singing. He's like, well, I'd have gone to church a few times. But I'm just saying, for those of y'all that got the chance to experience Mike singing.
I mean, it was almost like Ray Charles or something. It was just
it was very,
it hit you. Yeah,
it was very gospel. I hate to keep saying that. It was very black gospel. Like,
right.
You didn't expect that to come out of him when he opened his mouth.
Right, and that's kind of why I'm thinking about Ray Charles, because
Yeah,
Ray
yeah,
Charles
definitely,
was the one who put gospel into the blues and R&B.
definitely,
You know,
definitely.
I
And
mean,
yeah,
it was always there, but Ray Charles made a career out of it.
yeah, he did.
You know,
Ain't no knocking that, brother.
oh man,
But Finnegan had that too. And,
yeah.
but there's a bunch of cats, and I was looking up at one point to have like three of those guys in my band that played every instrument. At one point I had Leo Dumbecki, and I had him as
Oh
my
yeah.
B3 player. But what people don't know is Leo was actually a saxophonist. As a matter of fact, he had played with Ike Turner for years as a
Wow.
saxophonist. He had played with Ravi Shankar for years as a saxophonist. But he was one of those guys that just played. You didn't know that?
No, that's
Yeah.
news to me.
But he was one of those guys that played 12 different instruments, and I used him as a B3 player. Every once in a while in the show, I would bring him up and let him play guitar, and people like, oh, or he come up and play alto sax, and people like, oh,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, the B3 is like his fourth instrument.
Right.
I
That's
just need
funny.
him. And
You
then
needed a B3 player who could play B3.
I needed a B3 player who could play it, and that's how that happened.
Finding someone who can really play that instrument is almost impossible.
Well, you know what? They got somebody that come to the Bender every year that I will have to steal and do something with one day. That's Red Young.
Oh, that's great.
And it's sad because I don't know
piano
if a lot
player
of people
too.
outside of he is, but on the B3, again, I every time I see him, I say, Red, you've been hanging around the Negroes in the black church because the chords, those passing chords, the thing you're playing, that's old, and that ain't new gospel. That ain't the new crap. That's old. Andre Crouch, Matty Mouse Clark, that is old gospel. And I was like, and he and I had some words. He's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, man, I hung around Jimmy Smith and some other big names that when he was young, the cats that he hung around. I'm like, I can hear it now. I know where that's coming from.
Well, one of my favorite gospel B3 players is Billy Preston.
Well, Billy was bad. Billy was bad.
But some people don't know that he played with Mahalia when he was 10 years old.
Yeah, I do know that.
That's where he got, and like you listen to.
There's a video or there's a picture of that somewhere. I've seen it where he's sitting down playing piano. He's 10 years old.
With Nat King Cole, right?
Oh, no, that's right. No, it was Nat King Cole. That's what it was. It was Nat King Cole.
Yeah, to sit down in his 10-year-old and play piano next to Nat King Cole. I mean, that's heavy.
Yeah, heavy.
But
it's an understatement.
Right. No, I know.
Wow.
I don't even. There's no way to overstate it. But a lot of people know him through his hits or through the Beatles and Stones. But there's that Sam Cooke Night Beat record where he's playing all this beautiful gospel blues organ.
I don't think I've heard that.
Oh, it's the one that has Little Red Rooster and it's beautiful. Oh, you got to get it. Sam Cooke's Night Beat. It's mostly it's half of it's Charles Brown kind of blues songs, and half of it's not even gospel songs, but spirituals. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Okay.
There's a mean old world to live in by yourself. You know,
real spiritual. And see, people that don't know the difference. There's gospel, and then there's spirituals.
Yeah.
But usually we played spirituals when we had revivals.
Mm-hmm.
We trying to bring the Holy Ghost down, so it was usually deep, soul stirring type stuff. Spiritual.
And that to me is where a lot of the crossover with the early blues happens.
Well, yeah.
I know, I know you and I both share the love of Son House.
Definitely. How I feel about that.
And that to me, that to me, you're talking about your singing and you're talking about how your range is just in a certain place, but it's that to me, you as a blues preacher is the heaviest thing I hear you do.
Yeah.
Because any.
Well, it's coming from that place at the time. A lot of times when I get like that, I'm literally back in church.
It leads into one of the things I think people forget about the blues, that it is storytelling music. And if anything, if there's anything that I think makes me a good guitar player, it's that I try to think that way even when I'm just playing guitar. I try to think in terms of storytelling, in terms of singing, in terms of, preaching, It's because I want to get people even without words.
Right.
But that to me, I've seen you do shows.
I've seen you do
shows where everything's powerful. You got all this funk happening, the big band, and then you sit down and you death letter, and a pin would drop in the audience, and people are crying by the end of it because you've just found a way to get right to their brain and their heart and their gut. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that. I love my big band. I love that.
Right.
And anybody know me know that I love that. But I also like I said, I'm a big Son House, and I came up in the old church. I'm one of those few guys that's left around that actually grew up with spirituals and gospel. Like that was my whole introduction to music was gospel and that feel.
Oh yeah.
That whole So though I love my big band, I've often said for years that one day if I ever got my name big enough and I could do it, I would love to do a tour with just me, acoustic guitar and acoustic piano, and just do entire sets. Because it's in my head. It's still been in my head.
I remember the first time you and I traveled together was in Brazil, and you were talking about wanting to put something like that together.
Was I talking about it then? Wow.
Yeah.
That picture popped up, not too long ago with us in Brazil.
With us and Willie J. And that was a fun trip.
What was the cat from New Orleans was playing the drums?
Oh, Eric Bolivar. That guy.
Eric Bolivar, a monster player. Eric Bolivar and Frank.
And Frank, yeah. Eric had to fill in like last second.
Well, the whole thing. Randy, man, this is Randy. I mean, he had made me cancel. I never canceled gigs. I had a gig with my own band to play in San Francisco, and he wore me down over a month to cancel my gig about this gig in Brazil. And I was like, man, I will cancel my band to go play this Managed Boy thing. And I do it, and we land, and he's not even there. It's not even the band.
It's the same.
We didn't even know who was going.
I'm at the airport, and it's like, oh, where's Randy? Where's Jimmy Bott?
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're not coming. And then that was one of the only things that Randy convinced Gina not to go to.
Oh.
We were on our own. It was that guy Ivan who played harmonica.
And I stayed in contact with him. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, and he was a great player. Yeah. And we were lucky that Eric was also a player who listened first and foremost.
Yeah.
So I felt like he figured out how to play with us in the first song.
What I remember the most, and this is sad, but what I remember most is that we went somewhere and one of the billboards was a Managed Board billboard, but it was
yes.
It was the one when they cropped the top part of my body and the bottom part of Bobby Jones' body, and then top part of my body over. So I got on this nice 3-piece suit, and then the bottom half was these old frumpy jeans with some Velcro sneakers or something, and it's on a billboard. And I'm just like, what the? And it made it look like I was shorter than Kid Rummels, and I'm like, what the hell is this? That's like, whatever, man.
I remember there was another billboard or poster where it was for the Managed Boys, but none of the people who were on the gig were on the poster.
But none of the posters were. None of the billboards were. No, everyone that we saw was like, it wasn't even the current Managed Boy lineup, like the regular lineup. It was like something.
It was Finest and Richard Innes and
Levy. Yeah, one was Finest, Richard Innes, Levy. I was just like, okay.
Right. And there we are, like the Managed Boys. There are 3 of us. It's my first Managed Boys gig.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I guess
the drummer had literally been called the day before, or 2 days before. And next thing, Eric, I mean, he didn't have a chance to even look over the songs. And all of a sudden, he was in Brazil, and we're looking at him like, I'm looking at him. I'm over here going like, and Frank is being Frank, and Willie J is being cool, but Gina, I don't know why you let Randy convince you not to go on that trip, because that was hell. I mean, Ivan was good, but me and Mike both, we just got looked at. I remember we just got looked at each other like
here we go.
Here we go. And it was a full tour. I think we was there for like a month or
No. That one was just a week.
Was it just a week?
Yeah, I think you did another one without me. You might have. Did you go down and play with Igor and those guys?
I did that a few times. I mean, I went down with Igor a couple times to stay like a month or so. But I thought that tour, because look, like we played. I remember us playing like 5 shows or 6 shows or something.
Oh, you know what I think it was? I think it was like 5 shows in a row, just like bam, 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 bam. It was like a week and a half. Yeah. With no days off, no nothing.
She said, remind me to tell y'all the story of how I hired Eric Williams for that gig. You hired Eric for that gig? See, Randy always took credit for that.
Right. Anything that worked, and I'm saying this with all respect to Randy. I need to say that. Randy put together an amazing thing with Delta Groove, and I played with so many great people because of Randy, and I love him. But anything that actually worked was Gina.
Yeah, I agree 100%, brother. Believe me, Pam and I, Pam and I business people, so it didn't take us long. I think we had been in the organization for 6-7 months, and we realized okay, this guy's all talking with that little girl over there. She's running and everything. And it was funny because Randy always had this idea of all these people running the business or whatever. He would always do all these things. But then when crap would inevitably fall apart, next thing you know, it would be Gina who would put it all together. I can't tell you how many tours that we went on, and it was Gina that got everything done. And Randy. That one time we played in Beirut.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever hear about that show?
I don't think I heard about that show. I'd done it with the Blue Tones and Otis Grand the year before.
Yeah, Otis Grand, all that. So Randy was dating this girl, and he brought her along as, you know how Randy was, and he brought her along as the manager. Meanwhile, some other girl that he had dated before shows up to Beirut from wherever.
In Beirut.
From where, so he got two.
Like, you'd think that would be the place where no one from your past is going to show up.
Not in our business, brother. You always get by. In our business, right. Yeah. So all this is going on. Nobody knows what's going on. No one knows anything. Anyway, they finally find this Tasby in. And, Tasby at this time, Mr. Tasby, God bless him. So he's an older gentleman at this time. Somehow or another, they messed up his flight. They flew him through Qatar. He's in Qatar. He's been there for a day. No food, no clothes, no luggage. He's by himself, And I think we had been there country 2 days. I think it was finally the day that we walked on stage. They finally showed up 30 minutes. Finally got there 30 minutes before we walked on stage. Matter of fact, Anthony, still didn't have any clothes, hadn't had any food. They fed him real fast, and Anthony literally gave him the shirt off his back. Anthony was wearing a shirt.
I remember that story. Yeah,
Anthony Garassi gave Finest the shirt so that Finest could walk on the stage and freaking sing. And we all just looking at Randy like, really, dude, really, Yeah. And of course, me, Willie J, we always, and Kirk, we sit there like, where's Gina? Where's Gina? I don't think you went on that gig, right? You wasn't on that gig, or were you on that gig? I remember it was just. I couldn't believe he did that to Finest. I mean, I love Randy, and I am where I am in the blues world because of Randy Shortcall. Right. Let me tell you that. He did do everything for me that he said he was going to do, regardless of all the other stuff. I mean, even when I left him, when he was on his deathbed, when I recorded my album Southside, he literally, from his deathbed, got me a distribution deal with City Hall Records, made a phone call from I think 2 days later he was dead. I passed away. And he actually got me the distribution deal. So, he had his shortcomings, but he loved the music. But
yeah, Gina wasn't on that gig because of his fuck up.
I read that right now. Yeah. That's all we remember. But you remember it, Gina. Finest.
That's the thing. Like, we talked earlier about how Welch Ledbetter was doing well. Without Gina, that was the best thing that. Like, the Welch Ledbetter Connections first gig, or just credited as Monster Mike Welch and Mike Ledbetter at that point. Our first gig was the Doheny Blues Festival.
Yeah, which I've never played. I've never played with my band.
Our first gig, wow. What other band gets to do that? And that was Gina. That was Gina, taking the idea of me and Mike playing together and just running with it.
But Gina's good with that, and she's a people person. She knows every damn body.
Right.
Gina's one of them people. You give her $10 and let her work her magic, come back, and she's got a Cadillac. She's traded up. I'm never ever going to take anything from Gina. And matter of fact, if I'm anywhere around the world and Gina's there, management or not be damned. I'm always like, Gina, because she knows everybody. She knows everybody, and she knows how to get crap done.
And she's also.
We talk
You
about
know,
Gina McCain, Gina McClain, everybody. Gina McClain.
One of our dearest friends. We both met her through Delta Groove,
So
probably.
Delta Groove, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Thank you, Randy, for that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Again, Randy
But
pays
like
up in mysterious ways.
so much of I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, so much of the reason people think Mike Welch projects are professional and people like working with me is because Gina's taking care of a lot of shit in the background that people don't have to know about. So
Yeah.
I show up and everything looks like, wow, these guys are really on the ball.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's supposed to be, man.
It is.
That's the smoke and mirrors. They just want to find those people.
That's one of the hard things about the industry being what it is. You know, over the past really 20 years or so,
Right.
that most musicians can't find someone like that.
You know what I found out, Mike? I found it, and I hate to say this because it's gonna sound so one-sided, but I have found that women make better rolled into a manager, better manager. I mean, my management now is a woman, Stephanie Gonzalez, and I call her my pit bull in high heels. And
you're getting no argument from me on that.
What's that?
You're getting no argument from me on that one.
Yeah,
that is.
And even before it was Pam, or a combination of Pam, and even Pam's got 20 years experience doing. There are times she would call Gina and be like, Gina, and Gina was always, no matter who she would work with, she would always take time to talk to you and give a thing. Mm-hmm. People have no idea, what you have to learn early on in our business is that you have to have someone to represent you. And people say, well, you're paying money for it, you're doing this, it's worth it because once you get to a point where you're booking 40 or 50 or 100 shows around the world, the worst thing is to be fighting with someone, and I kid you not, folks, to be fighting with someone for 8 months over an extra $50 room, or having Gatorade instead of water backstage, or fighting somebody for towels. And I'm not joking. Sometimes this go around for 6 to 8 months, and now I'm supposed to show up and give my heart and soul. But what all I really want to do is walk on the stage and strangle this guy for wasting my time with some soul.
And it puts the musician in a position of, you've always got 10 to 30% of your brain not on the music.
Right.
And it's like, especially for singers, it's like, but I mean, for any musician, but, for singers, and this is one of the reasons I haven't sung full time in a long time, it's just, any little stress takes its toll on the instrument because you can't change the strings on your voice.
No.
You can't adjust the pickups on your voice. If your body's stressed,
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky that I've been able to, I don't know if it's because growing up hard or all the years in the Marine Corps, but I've been lucky to be able to push through it. But, I can tell you now that after having Pam, after having Gina, after having Stephanie, I could do it, but I don't see myself anytime soon going back to where I'm booking and dealing with all that, and then trying to write music and put a band together. And now, even Drake is my MD, and I had to learn, like, Ray, you got to delegate. You got to I can't do all this and then walk on stage at this level and yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of it sounds you're frozen on my end. Are you still there? You still there? Lost you for a second. Who are people seeing? Are they seeing and hearing me or Ray or both? Oh, Ray's frozen. Okay. Lost you, man. So what we were saying earlier is that some of these things do sound, they do sound like small potatoes or silly. Like there's the classic story of Van Halen and the brown M&Ms. But the other part of that story is that Van Halen figured out if the promoters messed up the little things, then chances are the big things would get messed up too. Like the stage would fall apart. The um, yeah. Okay, so looks like Sugar's not on this stream. Well, it's good to see everybody. I was sorry to miss the bender, which is where I would have seen some of you. Um, but yeah, it's such a crazy time we're in right now. The pandemic, and Sugar and I are talking about gigs and touring, but the reality is, like, I'm hardly doing any gigs these days. I'm not touring. I mean, I have little things coming up, um, but it's hard to know. It feels like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, pandemic wise, and then with people refusing to get vaccinated and the Delta variant and people being sloppy about masks, it was like we reached the finish line of the marathon and then turned around and ran as fast as we could the other direction wearing clown shoes. And it's really hard to know how much you can commit to right now. And I know some musicians are just going ahead as if nothing happened. Yeah, I know. I'm vamping for time. But yeah, I mean, it feels, if I'd known that the safest time was going to be like a few weeks in June and July, I would have booked more back then. Yeah, so do we have Sugar?
I had to literally cancel and come back.
Okay, I've been vamping for time.
Okay.
I've been telling stories.
So you actually been able to talk to people.
Oh yeah, no. People are responding.
I was sitting here like nothing was moving, nothing was responding.
There were a few minutes of Sugar. Are you there? Sugar, you frozen or I frozen? And then people started responding.
Mike, I apologize. These are problems that I've never had. Of course, Eric is not here, but even if Eric was here, I don't think it's something we can fix. No, it's the program is like, it's doing weird. It's not allowing me to play video. It's cutting me out. It's like, it's really strange. It's like Gremlins or something. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Heck. But wow. Today my guest has been Monster Mike Welch, who has been amazing. He's none of the videos I wanted to give him to him has been played. He's been chatty, which I really appreciate.
What I was talking about was that right now, like you and I are talking about touring and business. Right now, it's hard to know. Like, I'm not touring. I have a couple things booked coming up.
Right. A couple small things. Yeah, I think
small things.
When it's all said and done, I think I did 6 shows this entire year.
and it's really hard to know how much you can commit to right now. You know?
I mean, I just had a full European tour canceled. I see some people are going to Europe.
Yeah, people.
But I had shows in Czech Republic. I have shows in France. I have shows in the UK. We had shows in Germany. The problem that we're still having is that they're not sure. Just like ours, everything keeps changing like on a weekly basis.
Right.
You can't tour like that.
Right. And that's like the next thing I have is that Blues Heaven Festival in Denmark, Peter Astert's festival.
Tell Peter I said hello.
I will. Assuming it goes on, right?
Yeah.
Which
is a great festival, though. Actually, we played it together.
Yeah, we did.
Us
on that one.
Rick Estrin and Zach Harmon and who was it? Eric Gales. Was
that the one where Buddy was on?
No, Buddy didn't do that one. The one it was the year that was you and Monster Mike and me and my. Basically, he brought in 15 headliners.
Right.
Marquise Knox. All these different people were on that gig. All of us were all headliners. You remember? I'm not gonna go any further than that. But you remember what happened?
So we did one of those gigs with me and Mike, where just because of the way the stages were set up, the band before us on our stage was Buddy Guy. And there were 2 stages going back and forth. But I looked at Mike. I said, "We got to put in our contract. We can't go on unless Buddy opens." because he's really good at warming up a crowd.
Yeah, like that's gonna happen. Well, you learn. You know, here's one of the things I learned. Here's one. I don't know if this happened to you. You always want to be the headliner. Like I'm gonna be the headliner.
Oh no.
Yes. No, don't believe me. I had that thing like, I want to be the headliner. I want to be the headliner. Then I realized, like, first of all, they're not gonna pay me what they pay Buddy. Second of all, by the time I get up and play, I'm not even selling any merchandise because people been buying merchandise for 3 days and they're either drunk or they out of money.
Last time Mike and I played Moulin Blues in Holland, literally by the time we got on stage, the CD tent was closed. Like they just weren't selling any more CDs.
Yeah.
You know,
people didn't have money and they probably wouldn't have been buying for it.
But you know, what you want is 1 slot or 2 before the headliner.
Yes. Or even in the middle. So I told my booking agents in there, I said I don't want to be the headliner. I don't want to be first. I don't want to be last. Put me anywhere in the middle, and I'm a happy man.
So the lesson, like back in the late '90s, early 2000s, I did a gig at a festival in Florida where I was playing with James Cotton.
Yes.
And we went on at 11:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Played to people coming in, just coming in.
James Cotton at 11:30 in the morning.
Maybe not 11. Maybe not 11:30. But what Cotton's point was that it doesn't matter if you get paid like the headliner, you get headliner money.
Yeah, it doesn't
have
matter.
them put you on wherever they want.
Wherever they want, and I've learned that too. But the thing is too, because I have such a big band and I'm touring with a big band, you know, I've learned that if I go in the middle, or like you said, not even 1, maybe 2 slots before the last, the quote unquote headliner, it doubles my album sales and
ideal,
which is more money for me to pay the guys and be able to put the guys
and that's so much more important in the long run. That people are drinking by the time the show's over. You know, they don't remember.
Yeah, I can tell you, but you people out there, y'all like audience. I'm gonna tell y'all something. We learn real fast. You know, I don't care if you're Buddy Guy. I don't care if you're Eric Clapton. I don't care who you are. So I play show with me, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Susan the Dishes Trucks, and Johnny Lang. I remember that show in Moulin, in Holland. And
we were on that one.
Yeah, and I was the headliner for the Friday night. Kenny opened for me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I realized real fast, I was like, oh, Kenny, you was a smart man, because people have been drinking for 2-3 days straight.
And at Moulin, they're drinking.
They drinking.
They're talking through the whole thing.
Norway, Holland, and Germany. And the Germans won't talk through the show.
Yeah, no, Germans are
they'll fall down drunk.
Germans, but as far as talking, Germans are a little too respectful sometimes.
Yes.
But in Holland, they don't give a shit.
They're not as bad as the Japanese. The Japanese will freak you out if you
that's what I've heard. I've never played in Japan.
I mean, you play a 90-minute show and there's no applause until the very end.
Yeah.
And then they ask you for an encore. But think about that. 90 minutes, you pour your heart out and there's almost zero emotion. You just get like,
Right. And that's the way you're showing respect,
Yes, it's the way they're showing respect. And you have to learn that, but you don't know that.
It's like, fuck respect. Give me some energy.
Dude, you know me.
I remember playing a gig. I think it was in France, and it was that same kind of, it was like a still photo of an audience.
Yes.
Or there was a real audience. And I knew they were digging it. I was playing with Daryl Newlish, and Daryl turned around and goes, man, it's kind of drafty in here. Like a cold wind coming across the stage.
The first time I ever played, I'm not sure what you want to call the region, but I did some shows in Lithuania. Not Poland. Poland, the people in Poland, they're like the people from Sweden, Finland, Holland, Norway. They party. But I was in Lithuania and some of those areas. I was in Vilnius and Kaunas and I'm trying to remember a couple cities around there. Not Romania. Maybe it might have been Latvia or something. But anyway.
No, I've played Latvia.
But the very first time I did it, I remember I was with this French band. I used to have this French band back me up, way back when you first start going to Europe and they won't pay you to bring your band. So they pay you to bring you, and then you find a band to back you up.
Right.
So I had a French Zydeco band playing my music and called the Blind Sausage Gumbo Special. And I love those guys. we're like family. I've done albums with them. They toured with me
Yeah.
for years and years.
Good players.
Very good players. I like to say I had a lot to do with them because when I met them, I met them in 2003.
That's one of the big things. That's one of the big things about, like, I feel like even since I started going over to Europe in the mid '90s, I feel like those players got so much better the same way American players got better, because now there's enough history of playing with people from outside the area.
Yeah.
Like right now, the it's not just first generation European blues musicians.
No.
Like
touring guys, not just house guys, but touring guys.
There are scenes in those countries where people are picking up the deep stuff because it's, legacy.
Yeah.
And like you say, you had a lot to do with it. It's like, yeah, you did, because you show up with different expectations than local guys.
I had a hard problem with all the European drummers, because they had been listening to albums, and I'm like, yeah, but that's an album. Live, you don't play that way. I need you to dig in that snare, and I need you to dig into this foot. I said, because I got to feel this on stage, and blah blah blah. Because they used to play very light, almost jazz-like. Great drummers.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's just that, what they've been playing is what they've heard on records and radio.
There were a couple musicians that I had to keep asking, like, I'm going to leave space as a guitar player. Answer me.
Yeah.
Like, don't just leave a space, because then I'm going to be tempted to fill it with notes, and I don't want that. I want to be like Freddie King or Little Milton up there. You hit one note, and then, the dynamics come up to meet you.
Right.
And then,
yeah,
it's like, that's a hard thing for any musician to learn off of records, that this stuff is a conversation.
It's a conversation.
As
a singer, I had to get them to watch my body, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
I don't have time to really. I don't at the time. I'm trying to still hold the audience together. Still trying to. So I used to say, "Watch my body." I say, as my body becomes more aggressive, that's how I want you guys to follow me. I say, it's dynamic. But to those guys, credit. You have to be honest that they knew the music.
Mm-hmm.
They into some deep stuff. You just had to take into account that the stuff that they were hearing, this is before there was all the way YouTube and all this stuff is there. Right. The stuff they were hearing, they'd heard it on cassette or they'd heard it on vinyl. And as we as Americans know, music is totally different when you hear it live.
Right. And the other thing about a lot of the old blues and R&B and whatever records is that a lot of times those artists didn't have control over what was happening in the studio. So a lot of times, like, bands are playing quieter, or they are, not as free as they'd be on stage.
Right.
Like, B.B. King in the studio is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. B.B. King on his live records is maybe the greatest guitar player of all time, because there's freedom, and the amps opened up a little bit enough to make it sing, and like all of this stuff, there's a good feeling in the room. And if you grow up only hearing the recorded version, where chances are, let's be real. These are usually black musicians with white people behind the controls.
Yeah.
And like, there's so much cultural shit behind that of like, even when there was a good relationship, it was still different than playing for your people, know?
Yeah. Even some of the guys, other than Bobby Rush, but even some of the guys, when I first came into the blues, I thought it was kind of weird because I would see them at festivals and I was like, I've seen them before. They didn't play that way. And I had to realize, like, oh, they're playing for a white audience versus a black audience. And that sounds so weird to say that today, but it was.
I remember talking to, talking to some of like the Black Chicago guys, trying to remember who was on the French festival with a couple of great players, and I can't even remember who it was. I know Rico McFarlane was on that festival, but I don't think
it's a bad mother.
But I don't know if I was having this conversation with him, but it was with somebody, and it's just like, oh, we're in Europe. We've got to play shuffles and traditional stuff, you know, because
Why?
like
See,
because
I've always just kicked
because
the door in. Like I'm
be,
black, I got
right.
a white band behind me,
But
and
you're also coming into it at a different time than
yes,
those guys started going over to Europe,
no, big time,
and that's
big
huge.
time. That is gigantic because
You know,
they
like
they they open those. People say that, but they don't really. I mean, they open those doors, open those windows that allowed me to go in and do that. Because otherwise, I mean, but we still have that in the States.
right,
Somebody was asking me like, "Oh, there's not that many blacks in the blues." I said, "There's a whole lot of blacks in the blues." I said, "But you have two blues worlds. You have the blues foundation world, and there's a whole other southern, what they call a southern blues
right,
realm. All these unbelievable black blues musicians that
mm-hmm.
people over here don't even know about. But there's a whole other scene.
Right,
Soul, they call it the soul blues scene through the South. That's
right,
gigantic. Black people
right.
showing up four,
Like
5,000 people
that
in the
whole
show.
thing that whole thing that starts with like Malaco Records and
It-
Denise
it-
LaSalle and
yes,
Bobby Bland
yes,
and
yeah, and
that's where Milton went.
it's still going on today that people don't even
Yeah,
realize that. You
great.
know,
Some of the best singers and players out there.
amazing singers.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that that area of the blues scene has really kept the focus on the thing I was talking about the blues as storytelling music.
right.
You know,
But you guys are doing an amazing job telling the story from the guitar because you're playing with heart and you're playing with feeling, so you can actually feel that.
mm-hmm.
And that is matter of fact. Aaron wanted to know before we go too much for Aaron Joe wanted to know what is your main. He wanted you to talk
Oh
about
yeah,
your main
yeah.
guitar.
So he's asked this question a couple times. Hold on one second.
Pouring the blues into your soul will make you move inside and out. This is the God's honest truth. It will do that.
So this guitar actually hold on. Get my headphones back on. This guitar actually has a bit of a story behind it. It's a guitar made by a company in Chicago called Wilson Rose, and it's a basically a collaboration between two guys, a guy named Kurt Wilson who has built guitars for, I think like Kingfish has one of his guitars and Nick Moss has a few, and a guy who actually passed away not long after Mike did, a guy named Sammy Prace. And Sammy made guitars for Mike. The guitars that Mike played all through his time in Moss and a lot of the Welch Ledbetter gigs were made by this guy in Chicago. And so I got that guitar through being friends with Mike. Sammy had Mike and I come down to demonstrate for him at the NAMM show in Nashville, the Summer NAMM. And that's where I picked this guitar up. And, it became my main guitar that I played with Welch Ledbetter. And still to this day, I pick up that guitar. And I think it's the Ledbetter guitar for me. Because it was a friend I made through Mike. It was, the guitar I played with Mike. It was, it was Mike's favorite kind of guitar. And I was really sad when Sammy passed because he was just the sweetest dude, just like this older, actually don't know how old he was. I would guess somewhere in his 70s, but old Jewish dude from Chicago. He was like your kindly Jewish uncle, and just so sweet and so generous with his time and with his instrument. And he and I were talking about like having another special guitar made, but then he passed away. And so that guitar to me is wrapped up in two of my favorite people. It's the Ledbetter guitar and it's the Sammy guitar.
Right on.
How
did you and Mike how did y'all meet? Because I know you was playing with Nick Moss for a while, and you and I had done some things, and then you was with the Blue Tones, and you was all that. So yeah.
So the BMAs in 2012.
Was I there?
I don't think so.
Okay. I might have been on the road. There was a lot of times I was on the road.
Right. No, I know because that's where I met Randy, and if you had been there, chances are there would have been some kind of Delta Groove presence there.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? So, the Pro Jam at the Rum Boogie was being run by Nick Moss's band, and the last time I'd seen Nick Moss, it was Nick Moss and the Flip Tops, and Nick was the only singer in the band.
Right.
So I got there after Nick's band and had played, and Nick got me up with Curtis Salgado and Jimmy Bott, and I think Enrico Crivellaro from Italy was playing guitar. Nick's keyboard player Travis. Nick played a little bass. Matt Wilson played a little bass, but we do a couple blues songs, and then Curtis calls the O.V. Wright tune, "You're Gonna Make Me Cry."
Yeah.
And calls up this guy I've never met before to sing harmony.
So Curtis already knew who he was.
Oh yeah, and like
Curtis knows everything about it.
I didn't know like Nick had another guitar player who was singing with him. So I just like this young dude. He was still very much in his bodybuilder phase. So he was wearing a T-shirt about 5 sizes too small.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, this is cool. I don't know who this guy is. And he starts singing the high harmony on "You're Gonna Make Me Cry." And you want to talk about like church feeling?
Yeah.
It was just like, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I think he's the best singer I've ever heard.
Oh, right on.
And that's standing next to Curtis, who's so great at that stuff too.
Yeah.
And then it just became, Mike and I became friends, and we text each other about shit we heard, stupid jokes, you know, whatever. And then in 2016, the Chicago Blues Festival had a big tribute to Otis Rush, and which Dick Sherman was putting together. And originally, I think Mike was supposed to sing with Ronnie Earl on that, but Ronnie wanted to bring his singer. So Mike talked to Dick. He's like, "Hey, can me and Mike Welch do that?" And Dick got into that because Mike and I were like the young guys on the Otis tribute. Because the rest of it, like it was Jimmy Johnson and Lurie Bell, and you know,
taking that from those
Carl
guys,
Weathersby.
but it is yes.
Well, but and you know, God, you know, Jimmy Johnson's 91 years old, still sings like he's a 40-year-old man, you know. But so Mike and I were like the young generation of people influenced by Otis Rush, and you know, the video clip of us from that, you know, ended up having hundreds of thousands of views on different platforms, and like. I looked at it a little while ago, and it's like from the first note, me and Mike were like that.
Yeah.
You know,
it was just meant to be.
And you know, I talk about blues guitar players trying to play like singers. Mike was the singer I'd always been trying to play like. Like our vibrato was the same, my guitar vibrato and his vocal vibrato. You know, like our phrasing was the same, our energy was the same, because both of us had come from bands. Like with me and Sugaray Norcia, and with Mike and Nick Moss, both of us were contrasts to the front person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like because sometimes the front person you want that.
I had more energy and Sugar smoother.
Yes.
You know, Mike had, you know, all of this, and you know, Moss is really kind of like meat and potatoes, and you know, but Mike's flying in the stratosphere.
Right.
With me and Mike, we were both on the same level.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I'm gonna tell you, you know, I was jealous. I mean, the first time I heard y'all together, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to slip a banana peel on these guys. I worked hard to get here. God damn it! You like,
well, and that was one of the things where, you know, like it was such a magical thing. And at that point, you know, Mike was with Nick Moss, and I was with Sugaray and the Blue Tones, and so like when I put together the record, you know, with Gina and our families and Mike and everyone, we really did it as a family project, kind of. But like, you know, for me, it was like, we're going to do this side project, right?
Yeah.
Because we were both in bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, not to be,
but that's the way, that's the way it should go. But that's the way.
Not to be arrogant about it, but I also wanted to do it because I didn't want anyone else to fuck up Mike's first record with his name on it. I was just like, I know what Mike wants to do.
Was that his first? Was that his first album?
Well, he'd done, I think, 3, maybe 2 Nick Moss records, and he'd sung on about half of a Ronnie Earl record.
See, I got lucky in a way for me as a singer, because as a singer sometimes, I mean, at least he had a guitar and he could kind of, you know, he was a decent guitar player. But for me, it was tough because I worked funk R&B and you know, top corporate band when I came back into music, and then I got lucky enough to meet the guys at Unkizzy's Boys, and you know, I got three albums out with Unkizzy's Boys before I came to LA and all that stuff with the commercials and all that stuff happened, and then joining the management. So, as a singer, I look back and think like, I was actually lucky that my first albums weren't me being on the contract and having to do something for, they were actually the stuff that I wanted to put out, because it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
Because people don't realize that. It just does not really happen that way.
Right.
Not in real life.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
Especially back then, like these days, people self-produce their records.
Yeah.
Because you don't have record labels in the same way.
Well, and being honest, it's just like me doing this show here. I could do a full album. I've done it with just like I have my personas here, my audio box. I got the high-end AKG microphone. You can do so much more now virtually without having $1 million studio.
Right.
You can't think about just 10, 15 years ago, before Pro Tools became widely used, widely known. You still had to have somebody who understood an analog board, who understood mic placement, and it was a lot.
And you could always tell the difference between a record someone had made at home versus a record someone had made in the studio. You can't tell that anymore.
No, you can't. Yeah, but you used to be able to. The guy be like, I got a garage studio.
That guy had an 8-track cassette porter studio. I know that sound. Right. No, you can't tell anymore. I mean, matter of fact, some of the guys. I mean, my own producer, Eric Corin, who used to be the engineer of one of the biggest studios, I won't call the name, but probably number one or number 2 top studios in Los Angeles, California, which is saying a lot. And he was because he learned quite a bit engineering there. Right.
But now with the breakthroughs in technology, you can take those skills and go into your own 20 by 20 little space and put out the same quality or better quality than those $5 million studios did.
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of 24-track 2-inch tapes from sessions I did in the 90s.
Studer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
and it's like unless like I could take them to a studio to have them put on digital, but like if I wanted to record on that at home, I would need to buy a $10,000 machine just to play those back.
And I don't know about you, but I like recording to tape.
I love it.
I mean, digital is way quicker, and you can have 1 million virtual channels. As a singer, I've always said recording to tape makes you commit. It makes musicians commit, because listen, we only have a certain amount of tape that we can do this. And I'm not spending $600 for 9 rolls of tape. It ain't happening. I've got a lot of tapes, a lot of albums that are recorded to tape, which I love the sound better. I don't think the audience can tell. Right. You and I can tell.
Well, it's one of those things. I did one session where the engineer, just to be clever, did an A/B, like they had a tape machine and recorded to Pro Tools. And like, I was like, I don't want that information, because I heard the tape back. It's like the audience would be able to tell if you A/B'd them, on its own.
You're saying that, but you realize
with the digital.
All the big studios are doing it now. All the little ones. The last two albums I've done digitally. Then they dropped them on the tape to warm them up, and then put them back onto the digital.
That's a smart way of doing it. But I do like, if there were a way to commit the way you can with tape, the way you have to with tape, but also never have to rewind. Well, you know what I mean? I like the commitment of, it's like, this is going on a track of tape. You can do if you have maybe 2 tracks to do alternate takes, and then you're going to have to start wiping the ones beforehand.
This is true. Now that part about digital I like, because when I go in and record it, I may sing the song 6 times, 7 times, and ad lib in it. Because the first couple times you're trying to learn the song and trying to. For me as a singer, I believe that you can sing a lie as easy as you can tell a lie. So I'm trying to connect with the song with real emotions or something that really happened in my life. That's why I don't like this. That's why I don't just sing everything, because if I can't connect with it, I only have 1.5 octaves. I'm not going to sit here and do a bunch of vocal gymnastics. So my strength in my voice is to connect with the song, so that you actually hear the emotion whether it be joy or whatever. In
That goes
song.
back to the storytelling thing.
Right. So you know, sometimes I do it 5 or 6 times. And usually the people be like, man, the first pass through was great. That was it. I'm like, you know, I said, well, I'm gonna give you 5 or 6, then you can pick and choose and do whatever you want to do. Here's some ad libs, and you know, because you just, you know, maybe I'm getting too technical when I get older, but you know, it's kind of like, you know, the days of going in there for 14 hours. It's like, this is ridiculous. Well, you know, I can sing the song 9 times. If you ain't getting it the first time, you ain't getting it.
So this is actually a studio memory I have with you, making Dangerous the day after the Simi Valley Blues Festival, where we didn't even have enough time to listen to playbacks.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like we did the take, and Randy was like, "Great, let's move on."
Yeah, it was bam, 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 bam. I do remember that. I remember that.
It's like, I think we didn't fuck up.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. I forgot about that. That is right.
Yeah, like the thing about that album is like the players are really good on it. So you know, like it feels good. It doesn't feel like it was rushed through. But I was there.
It is the best blues album I've ever done. Straight ahead blues album. It's Dangerous. I mean, I've done a lot of hybrid stuff now with the soul blues and all that, but Dangerous is just straight ahead blues. You know, there's some Gate My Brown in there, but I mean, you know, we're rolling. I mean, and yeah, you were right. It was like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
you know,
we did not. I don't think we got to listen back. Like, you know, like I don't think we had 3 minutes between songs to listen back to it.
Not only that, I never even got to hear the playback.
Right. No, because I know.
After that, I was leaving for a world tour. I think we walked out of the studio.
Remember that.
I think I was home for half a day, and then I was gone for months and months and months. And then the album came out, and I was like, you know.
Oh, right, I made a record.
I
remember this.
Big Red out of Milwaukee, you say, what, your best album overall? Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Nicole Mullen, thank you also. Yeah.
For me, it's like, I think the quality of that album is really high, but the reason I wouldn't call it the best is because I think you've made records that are more straight up just you.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but I've always wanted to be an amoeba. You know what I mean? I never wanted to be I never, as a singer, it's weird. I never wanted to be a one-trick pony, because as a singer, there's so many opportunities that are afforded to you. But if people only see you in one light, then those are the only opportunities that they come to you. Does that make any sense?
Right. It does. Absolutely.
That's why I did the commercial stuff. That's why I did the television stuff. That's why I did some R&B. I did some jazz. You know, because I liked all these different music, and I wanted to continue to do that. Never wanted anybody to put me in the box. But my own band was always soul blues. It always was. With just enough rock in it to keep it, you know. But that's why I always traveled.
Well, you always had the energy to appeal to the rock people, and you always had, like, I mean, you know, a guitar player like Gino can, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff a guy like that can do. And I know with Alistair, and I'm sure with your current guy, that there's, you know, if you need the guitar to bring rock energy, you've got people who can do that, but also, you know, play blues like they really love it. And that's the thing. Finding someone who can play blues, play other things, and play blues like they love it, that can be hard.
It can be very hard.
You know, very hard. I think you've lucked out a few times. You've had some very good players.
Oh, believe me, I have. I know it, you know, and which is why I kept guys around as long as I had, you know. And but you know, it's a weird thing, you know. Bands coming and going I always did everything I could to keep my bands together. But you have to realize, as long as you go in this business, you realize why the old guys would have guys come in and out.
It's asking a lot of people, you know. To especially with your touring schedule.
Well, my old touring schedule, I ain't doing crap now.
Well, no, I know, but like, I remember when Alistair said, "Yeah, just between you and me and the wall, I'm joining Sugaray Rayford." I'm like, you know what that schedule's like, right? Like, you know, you know the way sugar works, right?
Hey, man, I you know, I'm old school. It's like,
well,
You wants to come play? Yeah. I mean, it's either that or sit at home. But now
we're stuck at home.
But not only that, but I was starting to get older. I'm gonna tell you, between you and I, when I finished that I got nominated for Grammy, and I was on the Blues Cruise. I was on the Blues Cruise while the actual show was going on. And people were like, you're gonna go to the party, and I'm like, no, I got a gig. I'm old school. Roger and those guys that booked us for the cruise. I said, I'm not gonna let the band miss out on that money. I said, I don't think I have a chance of winning against Gary Clark and Fantastic DeGrito anyway. I said, but I'm honored to, there it is behind me. That's my medallion right there. I'm honored to get a Grammy nom, but this is business, this work, and I'm one of them cats that have always been like, even I, at that particular time where I was burnt out.
Yeah.
I of all people finally got to the point that when the Grammy was going on, I was nominated, and the BMAs, all this stuff was happening. I was for the first time in my entire career, I was burnt. And then on top of that, I had pain.
Yeah.
That situation going on. All that happened at the same time. So I get
this is the beginning. This is right before the pandemic.
Right before the pandemic. And what a lot of people don't know,
I was in kind of a similar boat. I burnt out at the end of 2019, and it just started playing a couple gigs when the pandemic hit.
It's weird for me because I was already burnt out. We blasted through 2019, just crazy schedule. 2020 came up. I get nominated. I win the Soul Blues. I finally win a BB King Entertainer. No, that came later. Soul Blues and nominated for a Grammy and blah blah blah. And mentally and physically, I was like, I don't want to leave my house. Then Pam gets diagnosed with the cancer, and so I had already told the band we hadn't played the Blues Cruise. I remember telling the band after the Blues Cruise, I said, listen, man, we got the show in November. This is before no one was been nominated for a Grammy and all that. I said, we have the Blues Cruise. I said, after that, I'm not doing anything in probably until April. I said, so if you guys got side projects, go do your thing. I need a mental
you just didn't realize it was April of 2023.
I had no idea. And that there was no COVID.
Right.
Matter of fact, we wound up booking a small tour March 8th through the 16th.
Oh, wow, yeah. The last gig I played was March 8th with Danielle. She came through Boston. But, yeah, it's the 16th, you knew stuff was going down.
And we were in Seattle.
Oh, my God. And that's where it hit first.
That was the hub. And we were playing at Jazz Ball, us and Marcus Miller. And I remember they came out the second show, and the guy was like, we had sold it out, but there literally only like 120 people in the crowd. We're like, what the hell is going on? And the guy came out and said, right before the show, second show, the next day, he came out and said, for the foreseeable future, this will be the last show. Blah, 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 blah. And then the next day, we were up in Walla Walla, Washington, and we had the Walla Walla Guitar Fest. And the police were there, and they were charging them $5,000 for every person over 200 in the room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and that included bands and the crew.
Right.
So that means even if you were part of the crew, you had to be outside because, anyway. And then I came home and was in the hospital all that time with Pam. So
right.
So I had
that is that combination of a pandemic starting and the most important person in your world being immunocompromised. I mean, for me, we're in a 2-family house. Jeanette and JQ and I are in the ground floor apartment. Then my parents are in the top 2 floors.
Right.
And my mom had she's had heart problems and lung problems and a couple strokes, and she's doing fine. Right. But like every risk factor she had, so we really locked down here once it looked like people were locking down, and we'd all look at each other and just the mantra was "Don't murder mom."
Yes. Yeah.
And you were right there. Like you had to be super. I remember you telling me in February of 2020 that like it was Pam was practically in a sterile bubble.
Yeah. Well, they literally took her immune system down to 0 to get the stem cells. So literally she had, it was crazy the way they explained it to me. At the same time, we're in the middle of a pandemic. They were like, well, she has 0 immune right now. And I said, well, what do you mean 0? Right. Like if she catches a cold, she's probably not going to live. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah,
Right.
and so like we came out to the Arizona house literally and just closed the shutters and the blinds and like just like no grandkids, no, you can only by phone or video. It was just like I can't afford to go out even to the grocery store because I might deal with it. At the time, no one knew anything. So
we were ordering groceries. And I remember trying to disinfect every apple.
Yeah,
because no one knew.
No one knew.
They started out saying, "Don't touch surfaces, don't touch your face."
Right. Yeah,
And
so
then it was like, no, just don't breathe.
I start feeling like the old Japanese women. I'm at the gas station and I got a rubber glove I'm putting on every time before I pump gas. I got, I'm just like, what the, and I'm worried about Pam. I'm like, and then as this disease, hers and this pandemic go on, you realize like, oh my God, this is really, really, really bad. I'm pretty strong, but it ain't about me. It's like you can bring this home. It can live on my clothes. And so, but it wound up working two ways. Again, I was already burnt out, and there's no way I could have done the schedule that I normally did with what Pam was going through and being home while I was on the road.
The other thing is, and given that it's a horrible situation, it was the luckiest possible time Pam could have gotten sick.
It was weird. It was. It's a weird catch-22.
Because and like for me, I kind of had a nervous breakdown at the end of 2019. It was kind of lucky for me that I didn't have a fresh project when the pandemic started. Like, and that there was so much I could do from home, and
it's kind of a weird thing when I tell people
if things had happened with Pam 2 months later, there wouldn't have been a hospital bed for her to get.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
And
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys were already conscious of her immune system and acting like any disease could be a problem meant you were actually in a stronger place to start the pandemic.
What's so weird about it is, Mike, that when the pandemic and everybody started going to get supplies, it was funny because Pam and I had already found out that she had this rare cancer, multiple myeloma, and what it entailed. We had already had like 3 boxes of masks, gloves, and disinfectants because of the particular disease that she had. And then people started making runs on all this stuff, and we were like, oh my God, there's no way I could have lived without bleach, the Clorox wipes, and disinfectant with what Pam was going on. And so I would have been trying to make up something because, I had to make sure that everything around the house was sterile. I got dogs. I had to make sure the dogs were sterile. I had to make sure, it was like, anyway, happier thoughts,
But and to me, the blessing of it is that we're all still here.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say.
That, like I've been, like my kid actually thrived, they're 17 and they actually had a great year of remote schooling. If JQ had been 10 years younger, it would have been a different story.
Right.
Jeanette's been able to do so much or work remotely. So we got through it in this apartment. The 3 of us still really liked hanging around with each other. And we're all still safe.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a horrible thing, but I do count my blessings.
That's the thing too. Pam and I have always, we've been together since 1996, 1997.
Right.
And, we not just love each other, we actually like each other.
That's huge, right?
And I've heard people these horror stories like, I got to get out of my house. I'm like, dude, I'm fine, and I almost didn't even want to go play the gigs that I played. Like I'm good.
I'm yes, I'm locked up, but I'm locked up with my favorite people to hang out with.
Yes, which is totally different.
For me to say that about a 17-year-old, that's a blessing.
That is a blessing, brother. Because someone probably, if I had a 17-year-old, someone would be dead. Listen, I didn't mean to keep you this long. Even without the videos, we're already 2 hours into this thing.
Oh wow, yeah. We should probably wrap it up then.
But it happens like the way it does.
Let's do it some other time when we can get videos to work.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm trying one more. Let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens.
Right.
Let's see. Show and stream. Let's see. Anything? I got a feeling that it's not gonna Okay, give it a second. Let me give it a second. And play. Nope. No video.
Oh well. But it is nice. It is nice to think that maybe it would have worked. But you
Yeah.
left it alone for a while.
Anyway, Mike.
On some level, though, it is like this milk is spoiled. Let's put it back in the fridge for 2 hours and see if it's good then.
Yeah, I like that. I got to remember there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sugaray Reaper. This has been the Sugar Shack. Even with all the problems, thank you guys for sticking around. The question of the day was, what was your favorite jeans when you were growing up? Again, mine was Jordan, Vidal Sassoon, Calvin Klein. For Monster Mike, it was Gap.
Gap all the way, yeah.
Yeah. My guest today has been Monster Mike Welch, who's been a peach of a person, as he always is. As he has been since the first day I met him. And we played on, I think, 8, 9, 10 songs together, 4 or 5 albums. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But
I gotta say, so I was listening back. There's one thing on the Wrapped Up and Ready record where it's like you, me, Kim Wilson, Kurt, and you had just like made something up. It's just like a old Robert Nighthawk Sound and Blues or something, and you just made something up, and that's one of the deepest things I've ever played on. Just that one, and it's just like because it felt like the band was, something was happening.
Yeah, we were feeling it. Yeah. The groove was great. My guest has been the legendary Mr. Monster Mike Welch. Again, the Sugar Shack is about the green room. It's musicians getting to talk. There's no agenda. So hope you guys.
Also, I have seen a couple people saying, "Hey, let me hear the guitar." I don't have an amp plugged in, so all you hear is click, 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 click of an unplugged guitar.
Oh, I didn't even see that. The people wanted you to play.
A couple people are, well, especially when I picked up the guitar to show it, they're like, "You're going to play some?" I don't know. I don't know if anyone,
Yeah, sounds good. Good. Just play something. There you go.
Anyway, that's.
I like that though.
Nice.
Listen.
Next time we do this, I'll have something small plugged in so I can play a little bit.
Give me your website and your Facebook addresses. I wouldn't able to post it.
MonsterMikeWelch.com. During the pandemic, I made a live record and a collection of backing tracks for musicians that are both available at monstermikewelch.bandcamp.com. And Facebook, Monster Mike Welch, YouTube, Monster Mike Welch, Instagram, Monster Mike Welch. So anywhere, just look me up.
Right on. Monster Mike Welch and Welch Ledbetter. I love both of those cats. They were both great cats. Tell Mama I said hello. I ain't seen her.
I will.
And I love you, and I appreciate you being such a jovial and free spirit on this craziness today. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
To all of you to all you good people out there that stuck around with us from the bottom of my heart and soul, I appreciate it. And for God's sakes, please be good to one another.
Yeah.
And to yourself. I'm Sugaray. This is Monster Mike. God bless you. Y'all have a good evening. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks a lot, guys.